All right, now to the Caribbean, where a hurricane warning is in effect for Jamaica as a now Category 4 storm rips through the open waters. Currently downgraded to a Cat 4, Hurricane Beryl was the earliest Category 5 storm to ever form in the Atlantic. Beryl has already hit Saint Vincent as well as Barbados. The hurricane is expected to bring life-threatening winds and storm surge to Jamaica, where officials have warned locals to prepare for evacuation. Earlier today, the storm had top winds of 160 miles per hour. And for more, let's go to Dr. Jill Trepanier, chair of Louisiana State University's Department of Oceanography and Coastal Sciences. She is also an expert on extreme climate and weather phenomena, including hurricanes. Dr. Trepanier, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. So what does the latest advisory say about Hurricane Beryl right now?
Well, right now, it is downgraded to a Category 4, like you said, but only just barely. And so it still has an incredible force that it's moving through open water toward Jamaica. So the latest is it is weakening. They are expecting it to continue to weaken just slightly as it approaches the coastline of Jamaica, but it will likely hit as a major hurricane in the early hours of Wednesday morning. The storm, thankfully, is moving quickly, so it has forward trajectory that is getting it away from Jamaica relatively quickly compared to storms that may stall in a region. So thankfully, it will move beyond relatively fast. And the thought is that it will hit the Yucatan at a minor category strength, 1 or 2, as it downgrades further. And typically when storms interact with the plateau, the highland area of the Yucatan, and that land interaction, they continue to decay even more. So the thoughts are it will weaken as it moves out into the Bay of Campeche. I think at that point is when we really need to watch for it to see if it will have any additional space before landfall again to intensify before making landfall a second time, or third, I suppose.
Yeah, and when it does make landfall, I mean, what should folks prepare for?
Any storm like this, immediately at a coastline, you have to think about storm surge, which is that large rise in water as a storm approaches the coastline. That's an immediate coastal threat. But then on top of that, you have waves, and the heights of those can vary drastically depending on where you are along the coastline. But at a Category 4 strength, it will be a large inundation no matter where you are in that space. I think then once you're a little further inland or maybe even a higher elevation, there's that severe wind threat. Most people don't quite recognize the level of severity of 150 miles per hour or even 130 miles per hour. Even though the storm is weakening, that's still an incredible wind intensity that can easily take off the rooftops of buildings and influence structures in negative ways. So I think the big threats are those. And then if you do live in a place where you might be at the bottom of a river system, or you might be near a lowland area around higher plateau regions, you might see additional flooding from rainfall. The storm, thankfully, like I said, it's moving quickly. So ideally the rain will be heavy when it happens, but then it will be over relatively quickly. That's the hope. But if you are in a place that's prone to flooding due to rainfall, not from coastal flooding, that's something you should be considering as well.
We have about 20 seconds left, but I really want to ask you this question really quickly about timing. Is it rare to see a hurricane of this magnitude so early in the season?
It is. Typically, eastern edges of ocean basins have a little bit of cool water this early in the season, but as we all know, the Atlantic has been exceptionally hot early in the year. And so I think that's part of why we saw such an early eastern Atlantic basin storm form at this level.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you so much for weighing in, Dr. Trepanier. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.